The dark side of being schizoid is that it can feel like you're not part of anything, like that you're just an entity in the world. And this is linked to being more frequently in a state of existential angst or existential questioning. And so with the depersonalization and not feeling like a person, it can make things seem like the world has like no meaning and that society has no value. So when a schizoid is highly functioning, they're going to live primarily within the realms of their full self. And this is going to mean that they're going to have a strong allegiance with a social role that they play on a day-to-day basis. So this will mean spending a lot of time engaged in work and a lot of time engaged in activities that will provide them with structural thoughts that they can use as a means to occupy themselves. When a person is a low functioning schizoid, this will usually mean that they haven't developed the type of full self system that is integrated into society, which will mean that they're more likely to spend time alone, not engaged in a social role, not connected to society, and having a lot of time in their heads thinking thoughts that are outside the realms of what other people would consider normal or that are not aligned with society values. For the low functioning schizoids, there's going to be a wider range of psychic activity that has the potential to take place within their mind. And so what this means is that there's going to be like a wider array of thoughts. There's going to be more of a sense of not being part of the group and more of a sense of being an outsider. The highly functioning schizoids also feel like outsiders, but because they're playing a role, there is more connectivity with society. When a person gets into a state where they feel that society has no value, then it can be a dark place to be. I think because of the deep existential questioning, it can take some schizoids into a dark place because there's a lot of thoughts about the meaning of life, and then that brings up questions related to life and death. Not all low functioning schizoids will go into a dark frame of mind because there are some who will adopt belief systems or generate beliefs through fantasy that are positive and uplifting and maybe based on like a higher power, and they will develop a moral framework or a meaning for themselves that is based on some sort of positive code of living and having respect for others regardless of whether they have an empty core and emotional detachment or not. Their philosophy can be positive, but then on the other hand, there are other schizoids who will descend into a state of psychological darkness. And for them, they may think a lot of negative thoughts related to people, negative thoughts related to life and the function of society. It's not all really that cut and dry because a person can oscillate between positive and negative thoughts, or they could have a combination of both. But when a person goes into a place of darkness, they can be consumed with dark things. So they may have an obsession about violence or death, and really they could focus on a lot of the negative aspects of life that other people would find uncomfortable to do. And the reason why it would be easier for them to do this is because of the emotional detachment. There's not really going to be that sense of discomfort in going into those issues or focusing on those issues that most normal people with a normal emotional spectrum would feel discomfort with. So what this means is that this particular type of person is not going to be perturbed by things that other people find unpleasant. In this way, they can fixate on the negative aspects of life, or unpleasant or dark things, death, violence, like in a way that most normal people wouldn't, and feel comfortable with that. It might not necessarily be that they get off on it, like in a way like how a sadistic person would. It's not that they will gain pleasure from those thoughts, but more that if it is a psychological interest, and if they think that it adds to their understanding of the world, or just because it just is something that well, mainly I suppose it was just an interest, that's the main thing, then there could be an intrigue and a fascination with these dark aspects of life, and it could be something that they dwell on for long periods of time, or something that is revisited on multiple occasions. So there's definitely a propensity for schizoid individuals, especially low functioning schizoid individuals who are not integrated into society, to enter into a dark psychological space and to stay there on a frequent basis. I would say that this could then translate into dark fantasies and maybe dark desires. And so, because fantasy is an important part of the schizoid experience, having dark thoughts will definitely be something that could take seed and grow, like within their mind. I would say that some like schizoids, they might develop an obsession with like horror films, or like it could be anything really related to dark things like vampires and sort of mythological, symbolic sort of representations of darkness, and just following like really their personal intrigues. This isn't necessarily going to translate into anything more than that. There are some people who act out on their dark fantasies, but in the main, that isn't the case. It is just fantasy, living in one's own world and forming one's own perspective on life outside of societal norms. So I thought it was important just to make this point that, you know, being schizoid, it's not always all like positive thoughts or good thoughts. Like, it can be dark thoughts as well. And I need to make the point as well that it's not only schizoids who have dark thoughts. But yeah, it's definitely a thing.